Thank you, Ron. Kristen, your basketball coach at Stanford once said of you, she has this incredible drive to succeed. Where do you think this drive came from, this burning desire? Was it maybe in your DNA, or did you learn it? And did you have it throughout your entire career? How important was that to you?
Well, I think a lot of it's just genetics. So my parents are here. So thank you, Tom and Marilyn. I don't know. Yeah, thank you, Tom and Marilyn. I also have a 6'7" brother who didn't hurt much in that category when we'd play one-on-one in the driveway, and he Charles Barkley me down, and he just keep backing me up. I'm like, this isn't fair, and he's like, life is not fair. So I think there's a burning desire to beat up on someone else when he was beating up on me. But no, being competitive, I learned much later in life that there were people who had criticized my parents for how many sports I played, because believe it or not, I started in gymnastics, and that didn't last very long. But who thought they were pushing me too hard, basically. And my parents kept saying, no, you don't get it. She's pushing us. She wants to do this. They weren't making me do anything. And in fact, I really didn't come from a sports family. They were athletic, but they said they played ball in the park, and my mom rode horses and did ballet. So they're not real sure where it came from. They just knew that from an early age, when I was 2 or 3, and I would cry and cry and cry, and they thought something was actually wrong, so they took me to the pediatrician. And the pediatrician, in all his wisdom, said, I think she's got too much energy. Put her in sports. And they did. Now I'm a happy person. So I would have to say most of it's genetic. It came from within.
Well, that story is really interesting, because the fact that the doctor said after he examined you, she's fine, just put her in gymnastics. So here now, as a young girl, you're in exploring this new world of sports, and you're trying many sports, from gymnastics to swimming to soccer. Of course, in St. Louis, every girl has to play soccer, right? And so was there somebody in those early years, as you're making your way through this new world of sports, who inspired you? Someone who made sports fun and exciting, who motivated you, someone you could look up to?
Get asked this a lot. Like, people say, who inspired you? And while it seems maybe like a cop-out almost, my parents, my family. Maybe I was a little narcissistic in that I would look at the newspaper if I thought we were in it the next day. So I wasn't constantly reading about teams. I didn't have a favorite team. I really didn't have a favorite player. I just played because that's what my friends did. And so when I thought of role models, it was not, they weren't athletes. They were, my dad's an engineer and a software for Boeing, and my mom was a teacher. And it was those kinds of things that I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And sports was just something I did. But when I looked at my parents, that's something I wanted to be.
Well, you've had you had an extraordinary storybook career in sports, really. But life moves on, and you've moved on. So what's important in your life now? What is really important to you now?
Well, 2 things. One's called Ian, and the other one's called Sophia. Those are my 2 kids. Ian just turned 8, and Sophia's almost 6. And yes, they're tall. Always get that. The next question is, are they athletic? And I say, my son told me about a year ago that he's not interested in any sports that have balls in them. And I thought, well, there goes a lot, So what's important? There's so much. Sports was so important to me. I mean, to look back and say, oh, it was just, it was okay. I mean, it gave me a free education. I saw the world. I've met a lot of famous folks. But that chapter closed. And then when I came back to St. Louis after being gone for almost a decade, got married shortly after that. And I'm a stay-at-home mom now. And honestly, that has been one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done in my life. I love it.
I'll bet you're a great mom, too.
I don't know. Ask my kids at bedtime if I'm a great mom. I'll give you a different answer.
Well, when you reflect on everything that's been a part of your life, is it possible for you to tell us what you consider what might be your greatest accomplishment?
Yeah, he told me I was going to get this question, so I had a chance to think about it. Children aside, obviously, I had this thing in my head that I wasn't going to be an athlete that took 5 years to graduate. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of legitimate reasons why anyone takes 5 years to graduate, but it was stuck in my brain that that wasn't going to happen. So when people say, what's one of your best or most proud accomplishments, it's really that I fought hard in my academics and pushed and graduated on time, even though I was out for almost a year. So in all sincerity, like when I think back, the championships are awesome, and medals and trophies are great. But to say that I got through a tough school in less than 4 years, basically doing 2 sports, that's what I'm most proud of.
Well, here's a nice St. Louis story. For 15 years or more, you, Connie Price Smith, who we will honor later, and Jackie Jonah Kersey brought unprecedented national and international attention to St. Louis. All of it was the best kind. No controversies, no embarrassing moments. Jackie came along first, then Connie, then you, Kristen. It's impossible to measure how much the 3 of you have meant to women's athletics. You were great role models. You were great ambassadors. You 3 set the bar high for young women in St. Louis who will follow in your footsteps for years to come. You left an impressive legacy. And now the 3 of you are together in your hometown Hall of Fame, exactly as it should be. The circle is complete. St. Louis says thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much.